Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Today we will continue our discussion from last time. For those who don't know, we are at page 274 discussing. Last time we discussed a bit about Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, and then we moved on to the story of Adam alayhi salam, and then the miracle of the Qur'an also. If someone wants to give like a brief reminder about what we studied last time, that would be appreciated. Yes, Yusuf.
Okay, so the text we have been studying, we're addressing the miracle narrations in Qur'an. And the first question that we started with was, does Qur'an talk about the wonders of the time? Like there are many progresses that happened, like train, plane, electricity, computers, this and that, whatnot. So Qur'an, since it is an eternal speech, does it talk about these specifics? And author mentioned, yes, it does in two ways. One is there are some verses which allude to them with signs. And the second type is miracles, like the prophetic miracles are actually drawing the ultimate boundaries of the progress, the material progress that human can reach. He just gave one or two examples for the first type, and then he started talking about the second type. For the second type, we went through examples of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Dawood alayhi salam. So a few examples we read there. And last week we were studying Adam alayhi salam's story, where he was taught names, and author was giving us, started giving different interpretations to those miracles. And when it comes to Adam alayhi salam being taught names, he said that, or he interpreted it as, human is taught divine names, but all the jobs and sciences that we do are ultimately taking us to divine names. And he mentioned medicine and saying that it's going to take you to the name healer, al-Shafi. If you're an engineer, then it's going to take you to the name Musawwir, the one who gives shape. These type of examples. And now we come to the point where he is going to mention, how about Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's miracle? What does Qur'an tell us about, like, how can we interpret what is the ultimate goal that Qur'an is pointing to as the limit of a progress for humanity? And then he's going to have two questions. Inshallah, we'll study that.
Thank you. So we want to start, or we will start reading from the page 274 in brief. So the last few lines all the way until the end, the second page. So would anyone like to read for us? If you want to read. Oh, do I? If you want, you don't have to. Highly recommended though. Okay.
In brief, the miracles of the other prophets all indicate a wonder of human art or craft, and Adam's miracle indicates in concise form, besides the bases of those crafts, the index of the sciences and branches of knowledge, and of the wonders and perfections, and urges man towards them. As for the Quran of miraculous exposition, the supreme miracle of Muhammad ﷺ, since it shows in detail the reality of the teaching of the names, it points clearly to the true goal of the sciences and branches of knowledge, which are truth and reality, as well as the perfections, attainments, and happiness of this world and the next. With truly powerful encouragement, it urges man towards them. It encourages and urges in such way it says, O man, in the face of manifestations of dominicality, the elevated purpose of the universe is man's universal worship and submission to God, while his furthest aim is to attain to that worship by means of those sciences and perfections. In stating this, it hints. At the end of time, mankind will spill into science and learning. It will obtain all its strength from science. Power and rule will pass to the hand of science. Also, since the Quran of miraculous exposition repeatedly puts forward its eloquence and beauty of expression, by allusion it says, at the end of time, eloquence and beauty of expression, the most brilliant of the sciences and branches of knowledge, will be most sought after in all their varieties. Even in order to make one another accept their ideas and carry out their word, men will find their most effective weapon in eloquent expression, and their most irresistible force in fine oratory. In short, most of the Quran's verses are keys to a treasury of perfections and guides to a store of knowledge. If you wish, you may reach up to the skies of the Quran and the stars of its verses by making the previous 20 words a stairway of 20 steps. Through them, you will see what a brilliant sun is the Quran. See how it sprinkles a pure light over the divine truths and the truths of the contingent realm. See what a brilliant effulgence it spreads. Conclusion. Since, together with alluding to the wonders of present day human progress, all the verses about the prophets are also in a style which is though infers and traces their limits in the future. And since it is certain that all the verses point to numerous meanings, indeed, it is unanimously agreed upon, and since there are categorical commands to follow and obey the prophets, then together with the explicit meanings of the above verses, it may be said that they indicate in elusive fashion the importance of man's arts and sciences and urge him towards them.
Questions, comments? This room has never been so silent.
So, I don't know if the topic was too clear. This is why there's no question, comments, or
If somebody explained the conclusion, it was very, very wordy.
okay. So the question here is then, in the light of what we have been studying so far, what does Quran put as an ultimate goal for humanity to reach? Like Isa alayhi salam resurrected the dead, which is the ultimate goal for medicine, an unreachable goal. So Sulaiman alayhi salam flew in the air without anything, an unreachable goal. You try to make a plane, this and that to reach it. Quran came with this eloquent speech. What does it encourage us towards? Like as a miracle, it is this very beautiful, eloquent speech, very clearly and in depth explaining very fundamental questions of human life. So what shall we take as an encouragement from Quran from its miraculous perspective of this eloquence? What shall we strive for? For the rest of the things, we already strive for things. But what is it that we shall take a lesson from it as an encouragement? And in which direction shall they go?
Hey, I mean, I think relating to previous discussions, previous Friday and Tuesday discussions, I would say that the aspiration of the Quran is to maybe ask us, despite us being limited to walk on only the surface of the earth, maybe it asks us to ascend to the highest levels of creation spiritually, such that we stand above them and everything else prostrates towards us.
I guess from what I understand from this is that the purpose, like it says in the second paragraph, is like the purpose, our purpose that the Quran is trying to explain is worship and submission to God. And then these like human endeavors that we pursue, like the science and arts, should be also a means of worship. So using the Quran, I guess, as like how we've mentioned it before, as like a translator of a pre-eternal translator of sort of the speech that is the creation itself. So everything we see around us, there can be, I guess the way I understood it can be like explain, like there's guidance, that the guidance from the Quran should translate to like what we see around us and how sort of the world is set up. I don't know if that made sense, but sort of using it maybe to like power our understanding of the world around us. It's kind of what I got from this conclusion and section, but I don't know.
Assalamu alaikum. Going back to Abir's question about the conclusion. So what I cannot give you the whole, the text in paraphrase, but what I understand from there, the question was whether Quran has any allusion to these progress, scientific or technological or any kind of advances that the humanity takes. That was the question, and the conclusion says, yes, as we showed, Quran touches upon them, all these advances, but at the same time shows their limit, where they, when I say limit, not in the restrictive way, like where they point to, what is their final destination, where these advances should take us, what they point to. And Quran explains that, author says, not only alludes to these advances that humanity taking, but also teaches us what they point to, what they what should they take us, what they should take us anyway, where. And so I've been thinking about that. So when we ask this question, I think this is actually a very important point that author is making. When I first read, like it sounded a little bit out of nowhere, but when I more think about it, we do ask this question, right? All these advances, where do they take us? From one perspective, and this is what we see in movies and so on, for those who watch movies and stuff, I don't know. I just hear about them, we see that, the goal is destroy ourselves. We will become, more advanced, and more advanced. We will have these all, different types of bombs and so on. And then with a click of a button, we will destroy ourselves, the entire earth. So it seems from one perspective, this is the goal. This is what we are striving for with all these advances. But Quran gives us another perspective, saying that no, all these advances, they are just manifestation of different names of the Creator. And because you've been taught all these names, you're just, discovering them. You're just finding them in the universe. And every time you see a new advances, technological or otherwise, you should your iman, your relationship with your creator should increase. You say, Alhamdulillah, now I, see, let's say, the power of the creator more clearly. Or the healer name of the creator more clearly. Alhamdulillah, look at this. I thought there was no cure for cancer. But it seems for the creator of the universe, there's no limit. Even he's curing cancer. I mean, look at this. I thought, the death of the body was end, but even he's showing some instances of resurrecting, the body. Maybe in future, right? People is working on that, are working on such stuff. So it gives us a new perspective that there's a goal of these advances, which is knowing your creator better and better. Like it's really, I guess, when you think about this healing thing, it becomes clearer. Like I thought once upon a time I had some problem with my knee. I still have from time to time. At that time, I thought it was uncurable. And then one day, I learned that the problem I thought I had, it was not there anyway. Like it was something else, which can be fixed easily, and quote unquote fixed. Misdiagnosis. But it's like just like for a moment I thought there was no cure, and then the next moment, creator says, I can change everything with my wish. So for me, the name of the healer, name of the originator, name of the rule, giver was so clear in this experience, for instance. So with all these advances, these names will become clearer for us. This is how Quran defines the advances.
To answer Abir's question about what this means, I guess.
Literally one paragraph and one.
Yeah, I'll translate it, I guess. So last time we spoke about various verses about the prophets. So because of two things, the first one is these verses hint at like what our technology modern day, and number two, these verses kind of are written or spoken in a way that what Yusuf was saying, like traces their path, like the limit. So for like flying, the limit is to fly with nothing, like Prophet Sulaiman. And so because of these two things, we can make the conclusion that we should go and do art and sciences. And it's actually, we like humans should do that. And he says the reason for this is that the Quranic verses have multiple meanings. And he says like this is agreed upon. So it's probably the scholars have said this, like the verses have multiple meanings. And that we're also told, and this is obviously agreed upon, to follow the commands and follow and obey the prophets. So since like the prophets were the ones that were leading in the crafts, in the arts and sciences, we should too also go down this path of art and science. That's kind of the conclusion. That's what I understood, at least.
I'm not sure how relevant my question is, but so the conclusion section mentions arts and sciences, and like I wasn't here last week, so maybe I missed it. But have we given any examples about arts? I guess like because of the circular, we keep talking about sciences, but like, are there any art examples?
When the author was mentioning, when he was mentioning medicine, he said medicine is a science. Actually, it's an art. So he gives a different meaning to art in this sense because like observing the creation of human, let's say, or any living being, you can observe the art in there too. So it depends with which lens you look at it. Do you look at it with a very technical way of I'm just going to preserve the life of this person and whatnot? Or do you see the art in there? Like for instance, I didn't know that letters has an anatomy until I met an artist, a calligrapher. And when she sees certain letters, to me it looks like calligraphy. When she says, "Oh, it's horrible, horrendous," I say, "Well, what is it? It's just handwriting." But she says the anatomy of the letters are just very much off. This was the first time I heard that letters has an anatomy. It just they only have shapes to me. But if you train your eye for that art of anatomy of letters, really, then the curvature of the letters start becoming an art, and then you see the skill of the artists in the that's being manifest in the art itself. So if you look at it with this lens, every science becomes an art at the same time, because then you will observe that they are not simply randomly functioning things, but within this functional, like for example, let's give up Russian cars, old Russian cars from before around the communist time. They are functional machines without any taste. But fast forward, come to United States, like the cars are functioning, yet there is an elegance in the design too. So when you look at the creation, let it be if you're an engineer, whatever you're observing, if you're a doctor, whatever you're observing, it's not only like functioning, but it's also, you do observe this elegance in its design too. So I guess in this sense, arts, it gives you this lens of art. And when the artist looks at it, now I'm referring to artist, it might be a painter, it might be a calligrapher, they will be paying more attention to the design of it rather than you and me, which are engineers, which simply focuses on the functional aspect of it. Does it work or does it not work? And as a very minute side note in there, before I pass the microphone, so this term I am teaching game design class, and in our class, they're all engineers, like computer science students. Unfortunately, there's only 1 or 2 person from the Westfall, like the artists. This is why our games are being very dry, like proof of concept, because the guy is just trying to say that I put the thingy in there, it fires a bullet hits the guy and the guy dies. But there's no, like, as they would call it, juice in the game. It's not fun. Like the camera should shake or the environment should jump a little bit. These are how you would put some art in game. For us engineers, generally, this is lacking. The artists, when they get in some sort of a project, and the game really starts shining a little bit. So I guess in this sense, arts, if you look at the creation with this lens of art, again, you're going to see many other names, which as an engineer, you wouldn't see.
I guess I wanted to just follow up on Birkan's point. He was saying that, well, the author's point, he was saying that we should appreciate God's names with all of the advancements that we have. But for us to do so, that means we'd have to learn God's names. So I feel like that should be a goal for us. I personally don't.
Like learning God's name.
So, is when they say God's names, are they talking about, let's say, the 99 names? Or where are these names coming from? So that's what I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I personally only know a few of his names. So for me to appreciate and see how all of these advancements lead back to him, I'd have to learn his names. If that makes sense.
I just have a comment because I remember from the last discussion, Brother Yusuf, you said that like not all the names might have like the same weight for the person, or like like you said, for example, about Imam Ali, he had like certain names that, like, I don't know, made him pursue what he pursued, or like were the most significant to him or so. So I'm not sure whether like, you know, we should learn. Like, I feel like some names will mean much or weigh much in my life based on what, you know, how I live my life or what career I choose or something like that. No?
Actually, we can observe this between Ali and Zainab. So, like he's 2 years old. We didn't teach him to get excited when he sees cars. Like he is getting excited with the cars. This is why, like those for the early comers, he was pointing to a truck, and he was just focusing on the guy. Put this to the truck. Take it out of the truck. Like he's fascinated with the cars and fixing things. Whenever he sees me using the drilling machine, he gets crazy. He says, I would like to use the drilling machine as well. So for him, this is out of the box. This is how he came. So for him, probably it's going to be harder unless explicitly trained to, I don't know, doing something like, if he's like his dad a little bit, pursuing arts would require some effort for him to go after. It's not impossible for him, but it's easier for him to go with a mechanics. He can become a mechanic eventually. So I think in our creation, as there are like different people in here, no two persons is the same. We are created better in pursuing a certain name. We call it as pursuing a certain career. But what is a career? The way now the author is saying that you are cut for getting to know your creator through that aspect of yourself. If you're a soft-hearted person, you're going to get to know the merciful one more. If you're a rough person, where's the rough guy? Like the rough guy in the kitchen, like then you're going to get to know the creator with some, like as Jalal, his magnanimity rather than mercy. So this shouldn't mean that you cannot know all the names, because Adam was taught names, all of them. Human is taught, meaning given the capacity to get to know all divine names. But in practice, as we observe in ourselves, we are being more inclined to become experts of other names. So this is where sometimes we call it as a test. Like certain children are being very cute and nice about certain aspects and being very tough in other aspects. And you say that, oh, this child is going to have a test with this aspect. Like you can test it in yourself. Maybe you can say that this child is very curious, actually overly curious. He is putting metal into the, plug. Or you can say that this child is very, I don't know, angry. For example, this gentleman over there, when he gets angry, he's getting super angry. And I am sensing that this is going to be part of his test. This is something that he needs to learn about. The creator is going to train him with this feeling. Like Zainab is not that angry, for example. So she's not expected to become an expert of anger that much relative to him. But vice versa, every person has a different way that the creator says, okay, this is what I would like you to learn in this life, especially this one. Maybe other things as well, but this is what I would like you to learn from. So, and for referring back to Imam Ali, there's a text so Rasulullah talked about Ismul A'azam, the greatest names, and said, whomever makes dua with those greatest names, those dua will get accepted. But Imam Nursi says greatest names differs from person to person. Like, what is your greatest name? Meaning, you are cut for becoming an expert of a certain divine name, getting to know your creator the best through that name. So become an expert of that and make your dua with this name. So this is what I'm understanding out of that. And inshallah, one day, maybe we can study those 6 names that Imam Ali considered as the greatest names in this discussion, inshallah.
Do we have Mohammed Sial? He was sitting there.
Muhammad Sial was here. Maybe.
Oh, okay. I had to use. Okay, then Atik is there, right? I have to use Atik as an example.
Spare.
So yeah. So regarding your, the names comment. So how many names of Atik do you know? Yeah, Atik's names. How many of them you know? Your brother. One Atik. No, nothing else?
No.
No.
Smart guy.
But when it comes to
Cool guy.
God's names, for instance, we know that the name Allah is the proper name, like Atik. But the rest are not as proper names. It's not like Atik. It's more like the smart guy or the powerful guy. These are the names. When you look at the names of the God, they are not proper names. Like you can use some of like a form of them for other people as well. For instance, you can say a merciful guy for a regular person as well, but you would say the merciful one for him. So that's the name, right? So you do know, I think, in different names this way. Like you know him as the jealous guy, for instance, like he's jealous of you, right? You know him through his name of tea maker. You know him through his name of handsome guy, right? Sometimes, from time to time, he takes care of himself.
Expensive car.
Yeah, the terrible driver. All these names. You know him through them. And how do you know these names? Did you read them in a manual or somewhere? Like, does he carries a business card in which says, Atik, the handsome guy, the jealous guy, the terrible driver, and so on? No. True experience. You experience his works, he brings tea, and you know that he's the tea guy. You know one of his name through experiencing his work.
What he does.
What he does, exactly. Take it on the other way. One day Atik comes and tells you, oh, one of my names, people call me as, I don't know, the genius guy. And you would what? Laugh. And you would just say, I mean, if you are, let's say, if it is your nice day, you would just smile, not respond, not to, make him sad. But you know that this is not the case. Doesn't matter what he calls himself. You know him through a name only when you experience his works. Like he keeps telling that his wife is an artist, right? It's a name, the artist. He keeps telling it. He keeps telling it. Imagine we don't have all these. After like all these works, after a certain point, you would start thinking that what is this? Like he just got married and is trying to show off something we don't even see. It's just making up, right? It's trying to show off with something not even real. It's a crazy guy, you would say. You would demand, not maybe verbally, but at least in your mind, what art is he talking about? Like, show me just the artwork and then I will believe you. The same way we know the names of the creator. I'm not talking about hearing them. I'm not talking about, oh yeah, I heard about such a name. Knowing these names, we know them when we experience them. You get sick, you know the name of the one who creates sickness. And then you get cured, you know the name, the one who gives health. Some of them are listed in Qur'an explicitly. Some of them are alluded. So for instance, we know the name, those who, who gives the one who gives life, the Hayy, for instance, right? But at the same time, in Quran, Creator describes himself as the one who creates death and life. So there is another name that is alluded in Quran, which is the giver of death. Do we have this name in the list of 99? I don't think so. But it is alluded in Quran, the giver of the death. You know that because you see all these, like the people dying in front of you, or a plant dying in front of you. You know this name. So Quran gives them as, let's say, the answer keys, but you know them when you experience them. With these advances, for instance, you see all these advances and you realize something about life that you haven't realized before. You say, oh, my Creator has such a name as well. Or sometimes you read a name in the Quran, you read it, it doesn't make sense for the first time. That the name is the one who gives the shape to things. You say, well, what kind of name is this? But then, let's say somebody studies, it doesn't need to be this example, but just as an example. Somebody studies the human embryo. And you look at, it's the bunch of cells first. There's no shape. It's just like a lump. If it was taken away, they did out from the body, you would say this is something disgusting, throw it away. But as it gets, like a developing, you see how it starts getting a shape, a very beautiful shape. And when the shape is completed, when he or she is out now, it's so cute, you would say. So somebody gave a shape to it. Before it didn't have a shape, but now has a shape. So you know that, oh yes, my Creator is the one who gives shape. So this is how you know it. So in the light of that, if I ask the question, then how many names does God have? 99? Infinity? So Sultan says,
See, I say it's too many to count.
why?
I guess like if you just ascribe a certain number, like 99 or 100, you're sort of making Allah like finite in some sense. And it just like it doesn't work with me somehow. Yeah. I can't really explain why. It just doesn't make sense.
And from a non-mathematician point of view, I mean, that's how a mathematician would answer rightfully. Yes,
From what's the opposite of mathematicians other than stupid? Let's say. I mean, I think to see a name coming from my perspective, like to witness a name, I need to be able to witness it. So I need to have the ability to witness it. So I can understand Sultan's point about a limit on an absolute, sure. But also I do think like since I am a creation, I can expect or understand or maybe believe that there is a limit to the number of names I am allowed to witness or been given the ability to witness. However, I think the verse was taught all the names. So I guess if you're taught all the names, then technically there is no limit to the number of names that you can witness. So I would also say too many to count. Does it matter? I guess. I only say it not to be the contrarian, but just to me, it's like whether Allah has 99 or 999,000 or infinity. I mean, the point of the characteristics is so that we get to know Him, because you can't wrap your head around Allah. So if you can't wrap your head around Him, how do you know Him? Like through the names or characteristics or attributes. So it's like if more helps you, alhamdulillah, but it seems like there's the consensus of 99 ones. But okay, so like, does it matter? I guess I don't know.
My father, he he still loves the radios, like the radio player. What is it called? Radio something? Radio, just radio, right? So he used to buy a lot of them. Like at our house, the home, when I was a child, we had a lot of radios. And one day he goes to a place to buy a new radio. He says, the Japanese market, yeah, it's where you buy illegally imported ones, right? Real good ones, right? So he goes there, he says, give me one radio, but I wanted to receive signal from, all around the world. All these the different languages, I should be able to listen. And the seller says, oh, and I apologize for asking this, but how many language you know? Like how many language you can understand? He gets angry first and then says, you're right, I only know 2 languages. Like it's Turkish, Kurdish, that's all. So like how many the names, God has, I would say, how many names how many names you can read. You can memorize 5, 10, 99, 199, but how many of them you really know? I guess that's the question.
Yeah, I think that was an important conversation because if we say God has 99 names, then we are really limiting it. And our perception of names becomes a matter of memorization. But now the way that the conversation is going on, what name means is, as Birkan was initially saying, we are not talking about a proper name, but we are saying Rahman, let's say, the merciful. So it's really based on something that you can observe and experience in yourself and in the world that you live in. You can taste mercy, you can testify that a merciful one must exist. This is why you say he is Ar-Rahman. And this is what we referred to that dua of Prophet ﷺ before, like in Jawshanul Kabir. Prophet ﷺ talks about the Creator with 1,000 different names. So, one of them that caught my attention, there are many, but like he talks about the Creator of shadow as a name of the Creator. And he says the one who frees the slaves as a name of the Creator. Like these are the things that as a human he was experiencing in the creation. Like freeing of slaves is an act. It's being created. And he says the Creator is the one who does this. But it's different than Creator because it's a different type of creation. Hence puts the name of free or the the one who frees the slaves, names it as such. So this is what divine names means. And human is given those sensors, if you like, or different antennas, which can interact with those names with which we get to know our Creator. So limiting it with 99 might take us away from what a name really means.
So we know that our Prophet ﷺ, he was given a knowledge of 1,000 names, same way other prophets were given a knowledge of 1,000 names, and the same way angels, they were given a knowledge of 1,000 names. In Zabur, it mentions 300 names of Allah, but according to Sahih Hadith, Prophet Rasulullah ﷺ, he says Allah has 100 minus 1 names, right? So I think there is a purpose behind it. Because let's say if we say, oh, we can create, or we can like create another name of Allah based on our knowledge. Some people may say, oh, Allah is the king of mistakes. You can say Allah is the king of mistakes, or you can say Allah is the creator of wars, like, or creator of conflicts, right? No, so when you interpret names only based on your knowledge, it may have impact at the first like place on you. Like if you only learn based on your experience, I don't think it's good, especially when you have like limited knowledge. And for that reason, I personally believe that Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave us a framework. So let's say he said, oh, we have 99 names, and based on those names, you can come up with other, like, let's say, traits, or like other like qualities, I don't know, of Allah. But when we say that Allah has unlimited names based on our experience, I don't really agree with it. I think we should follow with the rule that our Rasulullah gave us, so that we'll go with like right path. Because like people can say different things about Allah, and it's not always correct. That's my opinion.
I guess like Khaliq is one name of the creator, but we also say khayrihi wa sharrihi min Allah ta'ala, right? So he is also creator of shar as much as he is creator of khayr. But what is shar? Shar is my perception. There is something, let's say, a child is being murdered, and this is an evil act, I would say. But who created it? Of course, Satan. No way. God created this. The thing that I consider to be shar is created by the creator. So this is why it's a new creation, which is different than might be considered, at least in my perception, than the creation of an innocent baby. Like the creation of an innocent baby being murdered is different than the baby is being born, which is another creation. So you can ask the question, right? Like imagine somebody is the manager of a hospital. Their children are being born. And imagine another person, manager of another place where children are being murdered. Like these are two separate things, but the creator of both of them are the same. So you name them as, this is what name means, the creator of children being born, yet at the same time creator of children being murdered. And Allah is the one who creates children being murdered. But what does that mean? So understanding it properly is going to take us to like some good conclusion. Otherwise, if I say that, well, it's somebody else who is creating the murdering of children, but God is only create the children that are being born. Like when it comes to bad stuff, somebody else take care of that. Good things, oh yeah, God does it. I don't know. What do you think? Abir, an idea. What shall we do with the murdered children?
I guess you gotta find out why God did it.
Okay, but he is the one that does it. That means I'm going to get to know the creator through that too. This is what it means. This is a name of the creator. So in a nutshell, this concept of name shouldn't be too mystical for us. Name, when we refer to the creator in a way that we can understand, is, although technically it's different, but it will help us understand it better. We can understand it as attributes. Like technically names and attributes are different, but I'm not getting into the technicalities. But this is what when Birkan was saying, Atik is the tea maker. Tea making is an attribute of Atik. We don't consider it as a name as we know of it. But name in this case means a title. When we say God is merciful, it's a title. How do you put that title? Based on his actions. How do you know actions? Through your experience. How else would you know? Like if Atik comes and says, well, I am also very good at, I don't know, melting gold. I haven't seen it at all in my life, this guy playing with gold. So I would, if you would like to take his word for it, take it. But it's irrelevant for you. Like it's just his claim. It's not part of your experience with Atik. Still, you're going to call Atik as the funny guy because this is what you're exposed to. This is why getting to know divine names is through my experience. But you're right. How do I take him though? This is a separate thing. Am I going to take him as, or the one who is cruelly murdering the children and whatnot? Is it me who is not seeing the wisdom in there? Or is it him not putting any wisdom in there? It's a separate issue. So, yet without my experience, my interaction with him, how am I going to know him? So it has to be with my experience. But yes, I agree. There needs to be a treating of my experience, and this is where the Prophet will come and train my experience. So I don't know if that's clear. Your experience needs to be there, but then you will sit before the teacher and say that, put this experience into a proper path. This is why you are enrolled in Drexel, right? You have a potentiality, but you didn't try to learn by yourself. You didn't start inventing the wheel from scratch and doing everything from there. You sit before a teacher and said that the potentiality here, and you are going to train that potentiality. Teacher help you to train it, but teacher didn't put that into you. That potentiality was there. So humans are taught names. You are given these potentialities. The Creator put them in there already. But you are going to train them through the guidance of the messengers. And the reason I'm emphasizing this is because we tend to take it very technical and say that, okay, clear cut, these are the 99, and they are something up in the air. No, they are given to you to be able to interact with. So this is an important part that, because without this, they become so inaccessible and so distant. Divine names become so inaccessible, so distant, and doesn't have much utility in my life. This is why I guess we need to underline this portion.
I know we have to. I have a question regarding this, like the unlimited names and what you said. So in the Quran it says, "Allahu la ilaha illa huwa lahul asma'ul husna." So in multiple ayats it says al asma'ul husna, like the best of names. If I don't know if that's true, or the most beautiful names. Yeah. So I'm just thinking that I was just reading the tafsir, what that means. And for example, when you give the example of like the death of children, for someone who might read this, let's say incorrectly, he would say then God is the, like, for someone else it would be, like what are the asma al-husna? It's like everything that is good, but like the best of things. For example, God is al-Qawi, as I think Brother Bakan said, like he's like al-Qawi means like there is strength in the world, but he has like the most of the strength. Or al-Aziz, like he has but like for someone who would see the death of the children, they might come with like, is God then the oppressor too? So I feel like there should be certain, I don't know, some certain knowledge or background or so to when you see something, you should read it in the right way. Like, for example, for some person seeing dead children, they will say this is oppression. So God is creating oppression, but God has only like good names, and oppression is not a good name. So you have to have something to see it as God is actually creating justice, or he will create justice or something like that. I don't know how to, how to get to know or to see that this is justice and this is not oppression. And that's why like when we say unlimited names, I don't know, I don't understand, because like it has to be a good name. We cannot give God because the names, when they mean names in Arabic, is also it's an adjective that you're giving to God. So it can't be like you're describing God in a bad way, right?
Yeah, I agree. But killing, is it something bad? Can be understood as bad. God is the killer, if we would like to take it as such. He is the one who gives death. So it really depends on how we interpret these actions. And this is why something that you consider as oppression, then you would say, is it an oppression when it applies to the creator? Because oppression has the notion of doing injustice. But you say, where does right arise from? Does the creation have a right against the creator? Like, what sort of an oppression am I talking about? Once I refine this, I wouldn't be able to use the word oppression as I use it. So this is how I will take it. Because one name that astonished me was that people mentioned not envy, sconge, jealous. The creator says, I am jealous of my creation. Jealousy is a bad thing. How come God is jealous? And when I heard this, and a brother was making a point saying that,
to clarify, like, where did you see this?
So
It's
ghira is the word. If anybody remembers where it is.
protective jealousy.
So when I heard this, and that person was defending the point that, well, we cannot think about such a thing for the creator, for ghira. So, but when I was thinking about it, when it applies to us, it's a bad action because it's unjustified. But when it applies to the creator, what does it refer to?
Ghira is prohibited for Muslims.
Well,
not ghira, not that type of jealousy. Maybe other forms of jealousy, like envy, but not protective jealousy of like your family members or something.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
So if, for example, if you see that, oh, Yusuf is very jealous of his wife, and which people generally use it in the sense that I'm becoming like, I'm not letting her go anywhere and whatnot, because I say, oh, it's my jewel and I'm not going to let anybody. So where's the sense of jealousy for us? Jealousy is, I would like to not share it with anybody thinking that it's mine. This is the source of jealousy. Like, mother-in-law is jealous of the daughter-in-law because son is the shared property here. Mom says it's mine, bride says it's mine. Jealousy, right? And we say jealousy is bad. And both are trying to protect something. And this is literally ghira. And it's not good, we say. Why? Because they're claiming ownership over something which doesn't belong to neither one of them. But when you think about the creator having ghira, you would say that definitely he is the true owner of things. That would definitely apply there. So we'll need to think about those names and how it applies in what sense and what not.
So the hadith is إن الله تعالى يغار وغيرة الله تعالى أن يأتي المرء ما حرم الله عليه. So Allah Ta'ala feels jealousy between brackets, big brackets, but the jealousy of Allah Ta'ala is that when a man commits a sin against Allah. So that's how Allah feels that, the sense of protection kind of thing. So that's the hadith.
Maybe more like when we change the words, instead of saying that jealousy, oh no, it's protective jealousy, right?
we also put an obstacle between us and understanding what it says. So when you read this, like,
It's more the translation because, you know, in English, I don't know what you know, you have to call it protective jealousy, but in Arabic, if you say yagar, it could mean multiple things. It could be when a husband, you know, has ghira over his wife, or it could be when like someone is protective over someone else.
and the you know, the rest of the text is already explaining it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, so, and what it says this jealousy is there when when someone commits a sin. And committing sin is always related to attributing some ownership to someone other than God. This is at the core of the sin. Breaking a law. Okay. So when this happens, this is, you know, the feeling as we perceive, the feeling that we experience that the creator would have. This is how it explained, right? So protective jealousy or not, when you try to understand, it becomes clearer already. The creator has the ownership over everything. He has the authority. And when you try to commit a shirk, when you try to claim an ownership on a part of it, you see that, no, I'm not sharing it with you. The manifestation of the same thing you would see in, let's say, in Bushra, when Huda tries to get something belongs to Bushra, Bushra gets crazy, right? We call it jealousy. It's that thing, as Yusuf said, because between human beings, there's no ownership. It's not Bushra. It's like I bought it, right? The father, dad bought it, and I can let Huda to play with it as well. But when it comes to creator, the same type of relationship, from my perspective again, makes sense. There's no sharing of the authority for creator. So I was looking at the text of the hadith that you shared. Allah has 99 names, 100 minus 1, and whoever knows them goes to, whoever knows them, for them the paradise. So you can read this hadith as Allah has 99 names, period. But you can read the hadith as, if you know, like there are certain names of the God, and you know, when you take it like 100 minus 1, it's like, you know, the importance is not the exact number, but it's like a certain set of names. There are certain set of names that knowing them takes you to paradise. The hadith does not put a limitation on any number. The hadith doesn't say Allah has only 99 names and you have to, you know, accept this or anything. It's like, I'm telling you, there are certain, do you know any, what is your major? Do you know any programming, like the computer programming? Yeah. There are certain, let me put it that way. There are 5 programming languages. If you know them, you will find the job at Google. What did I say? Did I say there are only 5 programming languages and no more? Or did I tell you, to give you a prescription, that if you want to get a job at Google, concentrate on learning these 5 languages? And if you come to me and ask me the same question, let's say in 10 years, I may tell you other 5 languages because of your new needs and so on. So the prophetic narrations should be taken within the context and with the message, like what prophet is trying to teach me there, the guidance. The prophet is not there as a dictionary. It's not there to teach you the numbers or, you know, like make you memorize something.
He's there to guide you, and he's giving you a prescription. If you want Jannah, concentrate on learning these names. But when somebody says, I know, or in Quran, I studied Quran, let's say a scholar. I studied Quran and I identified 237 names in Quran. Does it contradict with the hadith? No. Does it contradict with the fact that I said 5 programming languages will take you to Google, and Abir says, I learned 7 programming languages? No. The other 2 he learned for some other purpose, maybe. I mean, in this example. If you allow me with the Asma al-Husna. So when we read the Quran, we should ask questions. Like, we cannot just take it as it is. And what I mean with this, like, we have to first ask, what name you talking about, right? What names? And then Husna comes. First names and then Husna. So first I should have an understanding of what name is. And in my life, I should be able to say that, yeah, I see some names over there. Like, I see someone who's creating that. I see someone who's creating, I don't know, oppression, maybe. Like, you see it that way first. And then I see someone, who creates like ugly things. This is how I see, right? If I don't see any names in the creation, this ayah doesn't mean much to me. But when I see all these names, the ayah are now adjusting my view. The ayah says, whatever is created in a beautiful way. That's what Asma al-Husna means. Whatever is created in a beautiful way. And I look at all the names I see, and I ask the question whether they are beautiful or not. And then this contemplation will lead me somewhere. The ayah says, everything you see must be beautiful. I would say, I don't see beauty. And then I will start checking myself. I will say, am I looking at it from the right perspective? Am I looking at it with the right lens? That's the conclusion. Ayah says, if you look careful, you will see all the names you see are the beautiful. And I have to confirm it. It's like a direction. The names are the beautiful. It's a direction that I need to reach. A destination. In creation, I see just names. And I have to check whether they are beautiful or not. That's what ayah is calling me.
Yes. We'll break for Maghrib, inshallah. Yeah. 10 minutes. Okay, Bismillah. We're back, brothers, sisters. It's not over yet. You. So we will continue the discussion. We plan to start something else, but I think we will just continue with this now until 9, inshallah. We'll wrap up, and then next week we will start, another topic. Okay.
There was an unbelieving eye in there. So Sister Aisha was looking with unbelieving eyes if she has a comment
Oh,
during the discussion about names.
would you like to? You can think out loud. Here you go.
I mean, nothing that hasn't been said already, I guess. I was just thinking about, like, as Brother Yusuf said as well, what fills in our conception of death, right? Why do we associate death with oppression? Usually we do so because we say if someone commits a murder, right? They are oppressing it. There's an intent there. But knowing our Creator as we do through all his other qualities that manifest in our experience, right? Of compassion, of rahmah, of beauty, of mercy, of all the feelings and needs that are given to us for a continued existence, right? All of which, through revelation, through our experiences, through the Prophet, we are informed that death is a continued existence. It's a transition point, rather. And so if death was annihilation, if death was, complete butchering, then I'd say, oh yes, like he's creating this for his kids or for my loved ones or this, then how can I have this name? Then we have a bigger problem to begin with, forget the name, right? But I think I've given this example before, like, if instead of death we had said, oh, like this kid instead of being killed is going to move and immigrate to this other country that's going to give him the best education, best quality of life, like we wouldn't see that as a bad evil thing, right? So I guess revisiting how we understand death, right, alongside the various needs, likes, dislikes that have been given to us that guide us, that acquaint us with who our Creator is. Because, if I don't want to know my Creator as the oppressor, but also that dislike of oppression it doesn't belong to me. I can't claim ownership over that feeling either. That too has been given. And so if he gives me that also tells me, oh, he's not an oppressor. Because he gave me the feeling to dislike it in the first place. That was just a small comment on that point.
Nice.
Should I continue the thought, or I was gonna say something about the names, but I guess I'd rather continue the thought about oppression. I guess we have to remember, like, Allah is not like us. Like we were saying this earlier about the names, how maybe a name in the context of people is bad, like jealousy, but when applied to Allah, we know it's gonna be something good. It has to be. So in that topic, like, as a human, he has his book. Okay, I take his book and I rip it apart. I've oppressed him because that's his property. But let's say this is my book and you see me burning this book in my hand and you walk by and you say, you're oppressed. It's my book, right? And you say, you're oppressing that book. It's my property. I can do what I want with it. And then you ask me, oh, why are you burning this book? Because, oh, there's a mistake in it. And so we don't want someone to learn something false from it. So there's a benefit from it. So in this way, I know this is kind of obvious, but Allah does not oppress us when, like, he gives us death of a relative or hurts us and these sort of things. There's like a ultimate wisdom behind it. That's my understanding.
I want to say something. So I can say whatever I want, whenever I want. No, of course, like, I'm not like I don't want to defend myself or something. I just want to reach to some point. So the idea was how to read things, and they should be read like, like someone can read it as oppression, but as you said, like as we know Allah as believers, we should read it as like he's a creator of death and he's doing this for a reason, and there's going to be an ultimate, a day with ultimate justice and all of that. But I feel like to we cannot just learn these by heart. I feel like what Brother Burkhan was saying is you have to experience these things. You have to see these things, the names, the creations. Like what also, like I loved your example that how do you know that Allah is not an oppressor? He's creating in you a feeling to hate oppression. So, then he cannot be an oppressor, like my point is
ask the question of, I find that feeling.
yeah.
Where is it coming from?
Yes.
Right.
So my point is like not just learning things. Like I can say, you can tell me like from now until morning, you can tell me Allah does not oppress. Allah is the just one. But if I don't experience this, if I don't know, like how to read the feelings that are being created in me, how to also read the ayats that are being, like that are in the Quran, I want, I can't just memorize it, but I want like live it, I want like really believe it until I experience it, and until I like, okay, I see mercy, I should be able to read like this. There is an ultimate source of mercy. I see wisdom, there's an ultimate source of wisdom. Like this way, I see this creation, I see beauty, there's an ultimate source of beauty. I feel like this is how it should be. Like belief should become, from the experience and not just from, as you said, like memorizing the 99 names. And then like, okay, we know Al-Malik al-Quddus, Al-Hayy, whatever, but and then like if you don't know what they mean and how you can see them, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't, or am I rambling? I feel like for me personally, memorizing something without knowing what it means or witnessing it exactly, then it doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
So when I was suggesting, and I still don't think it's a bad idea to memorize these names, I was saying it so that we could understand it and see how it fits into our daily life. Because I mean, yeah, memorizing it and not applying it or not understanding it or not seeing it is not really, I mean, it's literally just memorizing it. There's no benefit from it. So I mean, I still think we should memorize it to see how it is. And then like the hadith said, there's another benefit to it. You could if your intention is correct, you could go to heaven just from memorizing those names, but I do think we should memorize it just to be able to see it in our life.
So I believe that we should not really expect to like see or feel everything in our life. So alhamdulillah, we have prophets, we have stories of awliya, we have stories of like even Luqman, who is not even prophet, but you can learn a lot of things from him. So when people are saying that, oh, you should experience the name of Allah or His attributes, only then you should believe in it. I don't personally think so, because like there are lots of like rich people who are not even worried about like money, or they're not worried about things like something materialistic. So they could say, oh, my father gives me money, so Allah is not provided. So I think we personally Muslims, we should focus on not like justifying names of Allah, but rather just like expanding our knowledge and then like going into stories which are truthful and only making conclusions. I still personally believe that we should not like say anything about Allah only based on our experience. So that's
Um, thinking about where to begin, but I think it's important to recognize that we've been given revelation, right? Which comes to us with the claim of being guidance for us. in which Imam Nursi calls us the pre-eternal translator of the book of the cosmos. So I face all these experiences in my life, events in my life, right? And as a human being, I want to make sense of them. When I'm born into a Muslim family, I'm given a certain framework to work within, right? But I still have to do the work of how do I understand, how does my belief in my creator, how does my belief in the books and the prophets, how does that help me in my day-to-day life, right? So the application of whatever tradition I've grown up in, the work of that, the responsibility of that remains upon me. And so I think, in short, perhaps, I don't think any of us, at least definitely not me, would argue that we should purely use our intellect, cast aside what comes to us as guidance, right? And try to reason through it, but rather that all of it has to be done together, right? I want to understand, interpret the events in my life. The Quran tells me here, I will translate them for you, right? I want to understand how to practically live in my life. The Prophet is given as an example for me, right? But all of these, I have to go through as a human being, the process of confirming them, witnessing them, right? And that is done together with the revelation, together with the tradition, together with the prophetic guidance. When we say, ashhadu, right? When we say, I witness there is no God but God, that has to be a real witnessing, and that has to be something that I affirm and reaffirm every day, not something that I check in a box on a form. I'm like, all right, I'm done. My job is done. No, as long as I'm given life, all the events in my life, everything that I experience, whatever is created for me is constantly inviting me, and that invitation comes to me from my creator as a means of witnessing, confirming the Quranic message, the Quranic guidance, through the Quran itself as well. So I don't think these are mutually exclusive, right? Jazakallah khair.
And to tie this to the text that we studied last week, the author was saying that he was interpreting what it means Adam was taught names. And he says that through your sciences, study the names of the Creator, which is your experiences. This is what science is, right? But he said, time to time, raise your head and look at the divine names. Because your father was deceived by Satan once, so you do not fall into the deception of nature and fall. This was the analogy that he gave in there. So looking at divine names, raising your head and looking divine names, this is the ultimate goal that you are trying to reach. Like you're trying to reach the merciful. But as you're going to the merciful, you're going to say, oh, the merciful one towards bees, the merciful one towards the children, the merciful one towards this and this and that, because you will even find mercy being applied to, let's say, stones, which I would never even think. Or is there any manifestation of mercy over the stones?
Is there?
See, God is merciful, we say, but we don't think of him as the one whose mercy manifests in the stone, for example. It's another name, seemingly. What does that mean is, it's going to describe another experience in which otherwise you would attribute it to something else. But ultimately, all of them will merge in the name merciful. So in the previous part, the author was saying that in your journey, in your sciences, make it like stairs that's going to take you to divine names. But time to time, raise your head, he said, and look at those divine names so that you're going to stay on this path. I mean, the reason that we were trying to highlight the idea of these names and not limiting it with 99, and I realized that there must be a potential misunderstanding when the idea of infinite names came up. which could be understood as any name applies to God. Be a name, right? God is be, or God is this and that. This is not what is meant by God has infinite names. What that means is, as many experiences you go through, all of them will take you to the Creator through a different path. Like drinking tea is different than drinking coffee. But all of them should lead to you, to the Creator, through the different experience. Because you shouldn't say that, oh, this tea tastes good because it is from that part of the world. To whom did he attribute the taste? To that geography, not to the Creator. So you named it with, oh, this is Colombian coffee. You still named it, but named it not with the Creator, but with something on earth. So that is the problem. That's a new experience, Colombian coffee. When drinking it, said, oh, Allah is the creator of Colombian coffee as well, because it's something new for you. As you didn't notice that mercy applies to stones, right? Mercy should apply everywhere, I believe. This is why we are being presented with Bi-Ismi Allah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Like he says, wherever you look, these are the first two names you will see. Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. If I do not see in the stones, then that means either I'm blind to it, or that means I attribute it to somebody else. It might also be that I do not see it because I am not trained about it yet. Like you don't see the art in those letters, you don't know anything about the anatomy. I didn't, right? But somebody comes and teaches you the anatomy of letters, you start seeing the names in there. So as such, yes, making fun of me. So as such, I mean, the summary of today's discussion should be, I mean, the reason that, I mean, I was not willing to really hammer about, oh, God has infinite names and bringing up with a technical description for that. This was not my point. And although I agree with that, this was not the point. The point was, when we say 99, if I am taking it as a limitation, as something very formal and unreachable and out there, and preserve it as people in Turkey would do. Like for Qur'an, it is at the highest shelf. We lift it so high out of our respect, we never take it down and read it. Like this is the Turkish style of showing respect to Qur'an. It's at the highest shelf, so that, and when you take it out, you kiss it multiple times, you never put it above your belly, so you're super respectful. Well, you understand nothing about it, right? If we apply the same to Qur'an, and I mean, this happens a lot. If you ask the Turks, they go to Umrah or Hajj, and they say Turkish Muslims are the best. Like those Arabs, they put Qur'an under their head and they sleep on it. How dare? Like this guy read Qur'an until he get tired and he's sleeping on the Qur'an. What did you do? You didn't even touch it out of your respect. So this is what I'm trying to distinguish here. When we talk about the 99 names, it is becoming this untouchable, mystical thing out there, which is even distant to my experience, as if my experience is like fallible. So I shouldn't be describing or measuring names of God with my fallible experience. I am trying to get to know God outside of my experience. He's merciful. Well, mercy is something that you experience. This is why you name it as merciful. Not to say that God's mercy resembles my mother's mercy. That's not what merciful God means. Merciful God means you experience mercy, He is the owner of that mercy. This is what it means. You're not shaping God's mercy. You're shaping what you have here belongs to Him. This is what merciful God means. This is why you're not having only mercy, you have ghira as well. How are you going to read it as it belongs to the Creator? What does it mean? And this is when Asma'ul Husna, when we say, I am having weird feelings that as well, how am I going to attribute Creator with this weird meaning? How is it going to work? There was a similar question that was asked to Nursi. So there's this scholar, Ismail Haq, I believe, this is somebody in Turkey. He says, hunger is one of the divine names. Students of Nursi asks, what does that mean? Nurse says, well, apparently it's meaningless. He says that. But says, well, but what he might meant by this, because he's a renowned scholar, what he might meant by hunger being a divine name is, you see the hunger is being created in the existence, which is also being suppressed by the giving of sustenance. That's a manifestation of the creator. So this is how to take divine names. Otherwise, limiting with 99 and nothing more than that could be an obstacle for me to understand it. That's why I need to read prophetic guidance in here as God has 99 names, many more than that too, because Prophet himself supplicated to the Creator with 1001 names. So I cannot reduce it to 99 because Prophet said so. Prophet himself did 1001 names too. So this is why, and if you read Jashan al-Kabir, these are all experience-based. This is how you know your Creator. I'm just repeating, but I guess it's enough.
I just remembered one thing is more technical. The hadith, Dr. Yamina, her name, I keep forgetting. She talked about it, and she said that in Arabic, 99 could just mean, it's an expression to mean that it's a lot. Like we just say, it's like, it's a lot. Like you don't say 100, but we say, like she said that the tafsir of the hadith, it just means that it's like so many names like that. Yeah, I just remembered that. Okay, should we end it here? It's already 9. Okay, thank you all. I think it was a pretty good discussion today. Alhamdulillah. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.